Hi guys, let us look at one another example on the application of the trig ratios for any angle. So guys, in this case I have what is already provided to me is the tangent of theta, which is -2/3, and then it is also giving me an additional piece of information where it says that theta is in the second quadrant. Based on those two pieces of information, guys, we have to write all the other trig functions. So guys, first thing first, we have to try to draw a visual. Once we have the right visual, then we can see what is given, what is missing, and from there we should be able to write all the other missing trig functions or trig ratios. Okay, so let me start by drawing this x and y coordinate. Okay, I don't know, this is not working, got to use something different. So this is my x and y coordinate system, and guys, this is in the second quadrant, so I'm going to draw a terminal side right here, and then this is basically my theta in the second quadrant, but I can kind of think of a right triangle right here, right? And then based on the given piece of information, let us see what is already given to me. Guys, tangent of theta is -2/3, but we know tangent is what? Y over x. So that kind of means that my y is -2 and my x is +3. Not exactly, but guys, we can use that to actually solve this. This is more like in a coordinate point, this is more like in a ratio, so it can have any other values as well. But guys, for calculation purposes, it makes life easier if we say y is -2 and x is 3. But here we have to be a little careful. Guys, -2/3 can be expressed in few other ways. -2/3 we can write as 2 over -3. It would still be -2/3, right? So guys, keep in mind when this is in the second quadrant, if this terminal side or the angle theta is in the second quadrant, then we already know that in the second quadrant only x is negative, y is still positive. So instead of thinking of this as y -2 and x +3, guys, we got to think of x as +2 and y as +2 and x as -3. Guys, do you see why we do this? Let me explain that one more time. It seems from here that y is -2 and x is 3. That is not wrong, but guys, then once you identify that, then you have to go back and see where the angle is, where the terminal side is. If it is in the second quadrant, we know in the second quadrant y cannot be negative, y is always positive. So that's why we have to rearrange this a little bit. Instead of thinking of this as -2/3, we like to think of this as 2 over -3. From here, guys, what we can see now is that y is +2 and x is -3. Guys, there's the same thing that one has to do if you see something like, let's say you see something like 3 over 4. You see 3 over 4 for a ratio which is in the third quadrant. Guys, if this is in the third quadrant, then keep in mind in third quadrant x or y is not positive, but guys, we can rewrite this as -3 over -4. So sometimes things may not seem like it is already provided to us. We have to rearrange and then we have to make sense out of this. Okay, so guys, y is 2, x is -3. That makes sense because it is in the second quadrant, and from here we should be able to figure out. So let us label things here. We can call this -3, this is +2, and then from here, guys, you know, the first thing we have to figure out is the hypotenuse or the radius. Okay, once we have the radius or the hypotenuse, then we have all the three things that we need in order to write the trig ratio. So let us find that r. So guys, r square obviously is -3 square plus 2 square. When we simplify, we get 9 plus 4, which is 13. So r will be, so we have to take the square root on both sides. So r is square root of 13. We cannot simplify this, so we got to leave it like radical 13. So based on this, guys, let us go ahead and write the ratios. Guys, the first ratio I'm going to write is the sine of theta. Sine is y over r. What is my y? My y is +2. So that's why I box things, I label them, I identify them so that it becomes easier for me to write when I'm basically writing the final answer. So it is 2 over r is radical 13, but we cannot leave it like that. We got to rationalize radical 13 times upstairs and downstairs. Guys, we simplify, I get 2 radical 13 over just 13. That is my sine. Once I have my sine, I'm going to write the cosecant, which is the reciprocal. So I'm just going to take my first ratio and just reciprocate it. It's easier that way. So I got my cosecant. Then the third one I'm going to write is going to be my cosine. So guys, cosine is x over r. Let us see what my x is. My x is -3, so it is -3 over radical 13. Can't have radical 13 in the denominator. So what I have to do is we have to rationalize the denominator, multiply radical 13 over radical 13. I get -3 radical 13 over 13, that is my cosine. Once I have my cosine, I can write the secant. So secant is the reciprocal of cosine. So why try to do reciprocate this? Why not just do this? It's easier, right? I don't have to do any extra steps. Radical 13 over 3. Keep in mind, I'm putting the negatives all the time in the numerators, right? Final answers, you always have to put the negatives. We always like to put the negatives in the numerator. Guys, then the fifth one, the last one, well, tangent is already given. So cotangent we know is the reciprocal of the tangent, so I just have to write negative 3/2. So guys, these are the 5 ratios given the tangent in the second quadrant. So now you could have any, you could start with any trig function, and in any quadrant, guys, you got to do the setup. You got to be careful with the signs. It should make sense. It should be consistent what we already know about where the x is positive and where is y is negative and all that, okay? Once you make sure all those things are consistent, then we can go ahead and write the trig ratios. So guys, keep practicing. I will see you next time. Take care.